noon until noon. From 10 until noon. It's been a very long day. Tuesday, the New Athens Home for the Aged Board of Directors meets here at 6:30. Wednesday, we're having a cleanup day at the Saks for Cessna resale shop, showing the spiders and the cobwebs who is boss. So we're going to clean the shelves, vacuum, do whatever. If you have the evening free, many hands, and make light the work, as we say in New Athens. And April 19th, Narcotics Anonymous meets over at St. John's Town at 7 p.m. Don't forget that next Sunday is Holy Humor Sunday. I have kazoos, I have bubbles, and I really am not sure what we're going to do with them, but by next Sunday I'll know. So please do make it a point to be here for that. An ancient tradition of the church that has thankfully been revived here lately. Our chicken dinner is May 5th, which is sooner than you think. So if you have not signed up out in the foyer, please do so ASAP. The Alton Yard Sale is May 11th, this year sponsored by the New Athens Home for the Aged. There's more information in the foyer. If that's disappeared today, just feel free to get the home a call. They can fill you in on details. We're having a potluck brunch on the 19th of May. Sign-up sheet out in the foyer for that. Work has commenced on the anniversary videos. When we have all of them done, we'll have them out in the foyer for you to pick up. New Beginnings is still looking for teacher-qualified daycare workers. If you know anyone who is a teacher-qualified daycare worker, if you yourself are a teacher-qualified daycare worker, yea, verily, the preacher saith, hieth thy hind end to new beginnings, so we can hire thee. We have a cap on kids right now because we cannot take any more until we hire more staff. Let's see. We're collecting markers for New Beginnings during the month of April, and our next day to help out at the Saks resale shop is May 4th. Anything else should be added by way of announcements?
I would like to say thank you to everyone who helped us with the Easter breakfast this morning, and for those who attended. We made over $1,000. Thank you.
You're going where this year?
Louisville.
That's what I was going to say, but I wanted to be sure. Head to Louisville. Anything else should be added? Let's pass the peace of Christ among ourselves. names in your bulletin. Fortunately, all of them have since left the hospital. Brian Napier was in St. Elizabeth's with complications with his diabetes. He is back home. Jack Whaley had outpatient surgery this week at Memorial. She is back home. And Kathy Newman slammed the door on cancer this week. Got his chemo port taken out because he's not going to need that anymore. Let the congregation say amen. Amen. For all of you, we have prayers of thanks for family and for the beautiful day. Prayers, lots of happy Easter wishes all through here. Prayers for those in need of God's love, grace, and forgiveness. A prayer of thanksgiving for a new great-grandson from Kenton Bennett. Congratulations. Prayers for the Shirley family, Clyde, Deb, Sandy, Jordan, Sophia, and Claire out on the East Coast. Sandy continues her battle with breast cancer. Prayers for safe travel. Prayers for the Linda Barron family. Prayers for the pastor and his family, the student pastor and her family, and the organist and his family, who is now the keyboardist and his family. And I'm sure the prayer would include everyone in Common Law and their families as well. Prayers for those serving in the military. Prayers for Luke Bosher, Rich Hawker, Dorothy Bush Hagen, and Jim Jansen. And a prayer for everyone who has the love of Christ in their heart, which would be a good thing on this Easter. That being said, I hate to be the bearer of terrible news, but we just got word prior to the service that there were terrorist attacks on the island of Sri Lanka, targeting Christian churches celebrating Easter. At this point, there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 275 casualties in 3 separate churches, bomb attacks. So we are again reminded that in the midst of death, we share the hope of new life. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's hard. Anything else should be added by way of joys or concerns? Yes, sir. That attack is a very nasty thing where people who didn't especially like Christians going to church on Easter decided to do something bad. Kind of like war, except there's not quite a war. It's bad. It's bad. Like bombs. Yeah. Anything else? We come before God in prayer today. We are grateful, gracious God, that the grip of winter is breaking and that signs of new life are springing up all around us. That is a natural wonder that happens every year. Christ's resurrection is an unnatural thing. The most unnatural thing that ever could happen, the event upon which history hinges. It's a sign of your power. Foretaste of what awaits all who follow him through cross to empty tomb and into a future that is ours as a gracious gift. In this season of natural wonders and beauty, keep us mindful of the most unnatural and hard-won promise of eternal life, sealed with the resurrection of your Son. You've heard all our prayer concerns today. Be with each one in your way. We think especially of our brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka, devastated by death and senseless violence. On this Easter Sunday, we still do dare declare that Christ is risen and that death will not have the last Spirit of your risen Son, that we come together now using the prayer he taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. At this time, we'll collect the morning offering.
taking the spices that they had prepared. They found a stone rolled away from the the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly 2 men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he told you, while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the 3rd day rise again." Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. Then Peter got up and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves. Then he went home amazed at what had happened. May God bless the hearing of the holy word to our own understanding. Amen. they fake? Yeah, they're plastic. Yep. Huh? What's in it? Well, that's part of the special part of it. These are called resurrection eggs. And they each have something special in it that has to do with magic. Well, not God, yes. It has to do with God, it has to do with Jesus, and it has to do with why we're here today. So, the first one we're going to pull out is what color is this one? Blue. Okay, so we're going to open it up. What's inside? A donkey. What does that have to do with church? Jesus rode on it. Good job. You have a donkey at your farm? That's super cool. Yes, you are absolutely right. Jesus rode the donkey at the time when he rode it to the town and he died on the cross. That's good. Super smart. Well, we're going to get there. We're still over here at the donkey part, but we're going to get over there. We will. Okay, so next is the lightning. What do you think, Miss? Money? You think so? Money. It is money. What does money have to do with it? What happens with money? Does anybody know what happens? What happens? Yes, they are dollars. The man that was hired by the priest. Yes, Judas. Gosh, these kids are amazing. They are. Yes, that's absolutely right. They paid, the priests gave Judas money so they would show them who Jesus was. Right? Some money. Yeah. All right, so that's the pink one. Okay, so next we have a purple egg. And what is this? A cup, that's right. He put wine in it and he said, "This is my blood." That is exactly right. I think the picture of the sermon. Yes. Yes, the chalice. Yes, and this one said chalice. Wow. Yes, and the bread. Yes, and you dip the bread in the wine. And he cleaned their feet. Grape juice, yes. The grape juice too. Yes. And if you look behind here on this altar, you'll see cups that look just like that, where we have communion, where we will have communion later. What? We did the Last Supper. That is right. That is from the Last Supper. You did that for your school? Cool. All right. So what color is this one? Green. All right. Green and yes, and I think I picked these out of order. I'm so sorry. This one has hands. What are these? Hands. And what do you do with your hands? What do they look like they're doing? Well, they could wave if they went like this. What is praying? Yes. And who prayed in the garden? Jesus prayed in the garden after the Last Supper. That's correct. Do what? Can I know the disciples' names? I do. Jack or something. And Peter. Yes. And Judas. Yes. Oh, I think Peter does some stuff. Peter does some stuff. Okay, this one is green. And what is this? It kind of looks like a snake. It kind of looks like a belt. It's a piece of leather. And this is one of the things that the soldiers used and they hurt Jesus with this after they arrested him. Well, it could have hurt that. It could have hurt him when they tied his hands together and they arrested him, or it could have hurt him if they hit him. They arrested him because they did not like what he had to say. The priests did not like what he had to say. Okay. They played a game with it? 4 and 1. Thank you. Those are all the numbers, yes. That's right. When it's your turn, you have to roll it. And the soldiers shook the dice and they rolled it when they were trying to win pieces of Jesus' clothes. And cross. That's what the dice do. Okay, so we're getting to that cross part. Yeah, lots of different pieces. And this, well, it kind of looks like a ring, but what this is supposed to be is a crown. Who did they put a crown on? They put a crown, a prickly stuck-on crown. Yeah, they did, and then he had blood coming down, that's right. Yes, so that was the crown. It wasn't nice, you're right. I think a lot of people are. What is this? A cross. But if you look really, he did, yes, that's a big cross. But these, if you look really close on them, it looks like nails. Yes, because they put nails in his hands and in his feet to hold him to the cross. Yes, you can see it. Yeah. It does kind of look like an axe too. Okay. Peter, you are so right. Peter did pull out his sword and tried to fight for Jesus, and Jesus said, put the sword away. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay, so then we have this purple one. What's this? That's a spear. Why do they have a spear? They hurt Jesus with it, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you can see it. It's not sharp, parents, just so you know. I'm not going to give a sharp object to children. It bends. Yes. It's not from an action figure. No, it's not from an action figure. And then we have this. What do you think this is? Gauze or a cloth? What did they do with that? They cleaned Jesus' wounds with them. That's right. That's right, they did. This one's really heavy. What do you think this is? Oh, you're so smart. It's a rock. What did they do with that? Where did they put the boulder? The stone. Yes, you can share and pass it around. They put the stone in front of the tomb. That's right. That's right. They rolled the big stone in front of the tomb. That's right. But then on Easter morning, something amazing happened. What do you think's in this one? Jesus. You think Jesus is in this one? An angel? What do you think? You ready? Jesus or an angel in this one? Let's open it. Let's open it, right? Mary Magdalene. Ready? Here we go. Oh my gosh! Why is there nothing in this egg? Why is he rose from the tomb? There was nothing there. That's right. That is the miracle and the promise of Easter that Jesus was risen, and that's why we are. Yeah, well, the rock goes in the pig. But that is why we are here celebrating Easter today. Thank you. So you guys like my eggs? Yeah, they're pretty cool, right? You guys are some super smart theologians. Do you know what that word means? A theologian is somebody that talks about God. You are all Easter theologians this morning. You're so way. Thank you guys so much.
preacher, right? I'm going to start this morning with a quiz, as we often do. I want us to take a couple of minutes and name every character in the Christmas story that we can name. You'll see where I'm going with this. Okay, who? Ralph? Oh no, not the wise men. Who else? So the biblical Christmas. I should have made myself clear. The biblical Christmas. Who else? The innkeeper. Who else? Joseph. Who else?
Jesus!
Mary. And Jesus! From the confirmation class. Yeah! Not in the Christmas story of the Bible. So, who else? Gabriel, the angel. Yes, ma'am. King Herod. What else? Who else? The shepherds. Who else? That pretty well covers it, huh? You talk about the angels? Okay. I think you mentioned Mary. Now we're going to switch gears. I want you to do the same thing for the Easter story. Let's name all the characters in the Easter story we can name. Judas. Well, no, we're Easter now. Judas has met his sad end. No, not Pilate, we're on Easter. Easter Sunday. Who's in the Easter story? Mary, mother of James, angels. Who else? Peter. Yeah, Peter, Jesus. Which was easier to name, Christmas or Easter? Yeah. Why is that? It's a happier story. Well, Easter's pretty happy too. Getting there, that's not very happy at all. You were right. At Christmas we celebrate whose birthday? Jesus. And he's born and put in a manger. So the manger has something in it. And at Easter, whose resurrection do we celebrate? Jesus. And where's the first place we go on Easter morning? Oh no, in the story. In the story. And that's good. Thank you for the Easter on church. But in the story, where's the first place they go? The tomb. And what's in the tomb? Just like the egg. So, the tomb is empty. Now, how do you make yard decorations out of that? Right? What do you do with an empty tomb? That's carve a stone. Carve a stone. Well, yeah, we can do that. There's a theologian named Frederick Buechner got me on this this clip. He said the symbol of Easter is an empty tomb. You can't depict or domesticate emptiness. You can't make it into pageants or string it with lights. It doesn't move people to give presents to each other or sing old songs. When it comes to just what happened, he said, there can be no certainty. That something unimaginable happened, there can be no doubt. That's pretty profound. Everybody say, ooh. Yeah, very important. Now, if we don't understand something, we have this human tendency to try to tame it. And at Easter, that tendency goes crazy wild, and we end up with some very wacky traditions, including this one. Run the clip there, Christian.
What's up, Doc? Are you sitting on a pack or something? I'm I'm supposed to be happy and gay. When I deliver the eggs, but my feet are killing me. Well, I'm not doing anything. I'll deliver the technical handbook for you. I don't think you can do it. Don't worry, Doc. I'll be okay. Well, remember, keep smiling. Every year I get some dumb bunny to do my work for me. Here's Easter Rabbit, hooray! Making my bunny, hooray! Oh yeah. Glad I don't have to do this for a living.
I'm waiting for the Easter rabbit. When he comes in, looking so fluffy and cute with his little basket of Easter eggs.
Bang! Easter rabbit stew.
Here he comes now.
Take this to me, I got a double bed. Uh-oh, here we go again. I'll get the jump on this one. Here's Easter rabbit. Isn't it big? And hold on to it real tight.
I'll bet that rascally rabbit if it's the last thing I do. I can't miss with my big queasy hat.
It's with hard sticks to let them on and get them all the way crazy Easter rabbit. Hooray!
I have to know whether I will wow you. Hey, come back here, rabbit.
I bet you pay back all the time.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now, I will confess to you that I am not above asking old Elmer Fudd for an extra serving of Hassenpfeffer myself. Everybody know what Hassenpfeffer is? No. Rabbit stew. And I thought about that this morning because I knew what I was preaching, and I walked out the door to come to sunrise service, and what was sitting in the yard looking at me? When you say something like that, you might get a reputation as an Easter version of the Grinch. We all know the Grinch, right? No. Dr. Seuss made a pretty good point when he talked about the Grinch. See if this sounds familiar. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow stood puzzling and puzzling, how could it be so? Christmas came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch saw something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more, right? Maybe Easter perhaps means a little bit more than fake eggs, fake grass, and unfortunately sometimes fake Christians who are unwilling to grapple with the mystery and the saving power of Christ's resurrection. It's a nice thing that Easter falls in the spring in our hemisphere, but it can lead us to make some bad assumptions as well. What are some of the secular symbols of Easter floating around out there in the world? Easter bunnies. What else? Eggs. What else? Candy, chocolate, baby chicks. I lost it. As I was researching this sermon, I found a picture of Jesus popping out of an Easter egg. No lie. No lie. It was meant as a Christian desktop. I downloaded it and I could not find it. What else? What do we have in front of the church? Lilies. Yeah. I mean, there is nothing wrong with that, but if we go that route, we can fall into the trap of thinking that the resurrection is just as natural as lilies blooming and bunnies hopping and little chicks jumping out of eggs. And friends, there ain't nothing natural about the resurrection. No one expected it. No one believed it, at least not at first. And that's true in all the Gospels. It Women came to the tomb expecting to anoint Jesus' dead body. They had no hope he was raised. In fact, they remembered his promise only after they were reminded about it by the two dudes in dazzling clothes. And they ran back to tell the disciples, and what was the disciples' reaction? Run away. The Greek word they use in that passage is leiros. Leiros is the root of our word delirious. That's what the disciples thought of this story. A good mix of hard-headed skepticism and first-century sexism. I mean, you can't blame them in one respect. Resurrection breaks all the rules. The old rules aren't perfect. The old rules can be cruel, but at least we know the old rules. And resurrection turns them all over. I will tell you now, if you don't find the resurrection at least a little hard to believe, you are not taking it seriously enough. It is a radical countercultural thing you are doing just by showing up here today. It really is. The only logical response to the news that the women brought that first Easter was disbelief. This belief doesn't mean people don't believe anything. It means they believe something else more. And that's where Easter gets to work. It challenges our certainties. Experience tells us death wins. Experience tells us life is what you make it, so get it while you can. And Easter says, really? Are you sure? Are you sure? A preacher and author named Martin Copenhagen said, the place to begin in the life of faith isn't necessarily with those things we never doubt. Realities about which we hold no doubt may not be large enough to reveal God to us. And so we say without apology, what we proclaim at Easter is too mighty to be encompassed by certainty, too wonderful to be found only within the borders of our imagination. One of those things I wish I had written, but not smart enough to write. They're very, very cool. Theologian Karl Barth said, the gospel isn't a natural therefore, but a miraculous nevertheless. And it's the nevertheless that Luke stresses in this reading this morning. Let's back up to the last verses in chapter 23. We hear the story about Joseph of Arimathea claimed Jesus' body, laid it in a freshly cut rock tomb. Then Luke says the women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed, saw the tomb, how his body was laid. They returned, prepared spices and ointments. On the Sabbath they rested according to the commandment. And after that we come to this morning's reading, and what's the very first word? But. But. On the first day of the week they came to the tomb, taking the spices they'd prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they went in, they didn't find the body. 12 verses from Luke this morning, the word but shows up 6 times. Luke's trying to get our attention. It's like Luke is reaching out from the gospel, grabbing us and shaking us until, as my blessed mother used to say, shaking us until our brains rattle. No matter what we have heard, Luke says, we have not heard the whole story. And he wants us to know that because there is another story loose in the world. It preaches a half-gospel that never makes it past the suffering and the death of Good Friday. We've heard the other story. It talks about death and not life. It tells us the world is a place of scorn and doubt and contempt and cruelty. The story undermines resurrection faith with supposed certainties about the way things are. If we listen to that story long enough, we're persuaded there never was an Easter at all. But when Jesus Christ rose from the dead, he's loosened the world with power to raise us up from whatever drags us down, power to make whole everything in our lives and our world that's broken. And that means that that other story of a hopeless, cynical existence peddled all around us is nothing but Good Friday talk, and it's meant to be left in Christ's empty tomb with the grave clothes he didn't need anymore. The resurrection is a powerful thing. But 2,000 years it's created and sustained the church. And it accepts every body blow, every sure of itself certainty that the world throws at it. And it says with the angels at the tomb, yeah, but he isn't here. He's risen. Now get going, the angel said, and share the news. Amen. Well, thank you. That never happens. All right, let's bring this back front and center, shall we? We do celebrate the sacrament of Holy Communion today. And as the church has done for a couple of thousand years, we start with the great Thanksgiving. What are some things we are thankful for this morning? Food! I knew who said that. What else? Children. Especially children in worship. And especially student pastors with the gift for children's time. What else are we thankful for? Sunshine. The Paschal Lamb. Paschal Lamb. There's a theologian. Yes. Friends, family, and God. That's a good one. Yes. Pastor Bob and Tara. Well, that's good to know. What else are we thankful for? Your puppy? You have a new puppy? Oh, boy. Guinea pigs? Guinea pigs are cool. Do your guinea pigs whistle? Kind of? Yeah, like that. That's it. We had guinea pigs at St. John's for a long time. They were Ralphie and Trixie. And every time somebody walked into a room, they would whistle because they thought they were getting fed. What else are we thankful for? I couldn't hear you. Well, what else are we thankful for? Jesus Christ. Yes, we are. We are thankful for Jesus Christ. And we're thankful that on the night when he was betrayed, he was at table with his disciples. He took the bread, he blessed, and he broke it. He gave it to them, and he said, "This bread is my body, which is broken for you. Do this remembering me." In the same way, he took the cup after supper, and he said, "This cup, it's the new covenant in my blood shed for you and for all people for the forgiveness of sins. From now on, when you share the cup, remember me." And so we gather here today on this day of resurrection and joy, remembering and celebrating Christ's living presence with us, symbolized in the bread and the wine. We ask God to bless these gifts on this Easter day, to bless all of us who receive them, that our faith and our hearts might be strengthened and renewed, even in the face of the forces of death that try to take Easter joy from us. At this service, we receive communion by intinction, which means you tear off a piece of bread, a good-sized piece of bread, please, so the communion chalice does not become a finger bowl. You tear off a piece of bread, dip it either in a metal chalice, which contains wine, a stoneware chalice, which contains grape juice. If you have mobility issues, please feel free to stay where you are after everyone else has made their way forward and ask folks to raise their hands, and I will find you. I think I have some volunteers ready to roll here to help us. You said you were helping with communion. And you said your mom was helping with communion. Oops, that's mom. Grape juice. And whoops. Your mom made you come up? Yeah. You can go sit back. Anyone else? My bad, I apologize. We leave this place, friends, and go out into a world where we've been powerfully reminded death is still at work, as is hatred and division. But we leave here as people of Easter